Hi, my name is Mike Perez. I'm a 25-year teacher of the Young Band, and I am owner and creator of Mastering the Young Band, which its mission is to provide resources for the young band educator. I'm here to talk to you today about a resource that I'm really excited about, and that is a fingering chart that I specifically designed for the young band. Most fingering charts that you will find in method books are chromatic. They'll start with the lowest note, and then they typewriter style just go down the page. And for the young band student, that is really challenging. If you've ever watched a young band student try to find a note in a fingering chart, it can take some students over a minute to find one note, which is why a lot of times they just resort to asking their friend going, "What's the fingering?" instead of looking it up. Instead, my fingering charts are designed by note. So you can see here, this is a clarinet fingering chart, and rather than it being chromatic this way, it is chromatic this way on an 11 by 17 piece of paper. You'll see this one goes from the low E and then to the D sharp E flat here. How this helps your young band students is, let's say they're trying to figure out the fingering for the note F. Well, if you've ever watched a young band student, they might finally find an F on their chromatic fingering chart, but they're in the wrong octave. This has all of the F fingerings for clarinet in one column. So they find the note F, and then they can see right here, there are 4 Fs that they can play. In addition to your kind of standard fingering chart, what I've done is I've flipped the fingering upside down. If you've watched a beginning clarinet player look up a fingering and then try to look at their instrument, they do one of two things. They look down their clarinet to figure out what the fingerings are, or some of them will even like turn it, look at it, and then they have to figure it out. That just takes too long. That's confusing. These fingering charts are written upside down, just like how most of your young band students look at their fingers when they're looking down their instrument. That's a feature for most of the woodwind instruments, not all, but soon I didn't flip, that'd be a little bit confusing. Another feature of these fingering charts, you'll notice here on the fingerings, I have names for the fingerings. So instead of just showing 3 fingerings and then your students learning the wrong one, what I have here is I have regular, right, and left for the clarinet. Sometimes I will say regular and alternate, regular and chromatic. That way your students learn the names of those fingerings as they are looking them up. Another unique feature of my fingering charts, I've given names to the different octaves of their instrument. So instead of just saying, hey, look up your high C, look up your low C, that can confuse students. If you can come up with a common language, it can save some time in your class. So for instance, back to this clarinet F, you'll notice there's low F, middle F, I call this upper F, and then the altissimo F, I call altissimo F. On the trumpet chart, what you'll notice here, so G, we have low G, middle G, and then upper G. High G would be the G above that. Using that term upper just helps to alleviate confusion when students have multiple octaves, when they have more than 3 octaves on their instruments. You'll also notice a feature for the instruments at the bottom of their fingering chart. There is a note range. So when students are trying to figure out their notes, that's one of the most important things with this fingering chart. They need to know the note name. They can use this as a resource, and it helps to just reinforce that their notes are all alphabetic. So here's the entire note range on this fingering chart. Students can look up the note name, find it here, and then see which octave that is written in. On every page for the fingering charts, there's also a little piano keyboard. This is really important. When a student goes, hey, I can't find C flat on my fingering chart. This thing's broken. It's not made right. You go, no, look at your keyboard. C flat is the same as what? B. So that's what that is there for. There's a few notes for each instrument for special exceptions of which fingerings to use when. For brass instruments, there is the same thing. There's the piano keyboard. There's the note range there. But then I've also included their position chart. If you haven't used positions with your brass players yet, first of all, I highly recommend you adapt to that and get that as part of your teaching. I have a great video on my YouTube channel you can look up that teaches you what brass positions are and how to use them in your classroom. But for your brass players, I have their brass positions right here on their fingering chart. And you'll notice for the brass, I have a diagram of what keys to push down, but I also have the position name. So that way, when you ask your students, okay, What's the fingering for F sharp? They can say second position in addition to showing you the valve. So that's part of the brass positions. On the trombone chart, I do have a image that shows their different positions on there as well. The last feature that I'll show you on my fingering charts here, I designed these specifically to go into your young band students' binder. And what I do with my band students is we have it in their binder at the back. We fold it like this in the back of their binder. And what I have students do is at the beginning of class, they open up to whatever page we're working on in their essential foundations, and then they have this sticking out. When students have their fingering chart out, they're more likely to look at it. They don't have to expend energy to go open up their method book, get it out, open the book. This way, they can just go right away. If it's not on this page, they can just lift and see there are other pages there. So this is designed to be printed on 11 by 17 paper. I actually get a little bit of a thicker cardstock that the students use. That way it lasts a really long time and it never falls out of their binder. When they're done, I just have them fold it back in to their binder, and then it doesn't stick out. These fingering charts are available on MikePerezBand.com. There's a link to my PayHip site. I think it's a really great resource for young bands. I've been wanting to make these fingering charts for a long time. I hope you enjoy them, and I think you'll find them as useful as I do. Take care.